Good evening and welcome to Greater Somerville for April 30th, 2013. I'm Cayenne Anderson. Tonight's topic, Somerville Open Art Studios. With over 400 artists participating each year, it remains the largest single weekend open art event in the country. As residents are allowed to wander in and out of personal work studios, looking for that perfect piece of art, one can't help but be overwhelmed by the high concentration of creative talent this community has to offer. On tonight's program, we'll take a look behind the scenes of Somerville Open Art Studios and speak with two local artists dedicated to making this event a true highlight of our community year after year. Personally, I can say that it is because of events like this that make me so very proud to live in Somerville. On May 4th and 5th, Somerville Open Studios will be celebrating its 15th anniversary as it kicks off yet another spectacular event. So please join me in welcoming for their debut appearance here on Greater Somerville, Rachel, Mello, and Emily Garfield to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, ladies. Whew, that was a little race for the clock. We almost didn't make it here, but we're all here. Callers, I want to remind you, we are going to take callers tonight. I just realized that I put up their names rather than the phone number, so I'm going to give you the phone number if you do want to call in. It's 617-628-9876. If you can, please wait a little bit so we can find out about the ladies, and then we can pick up your calls at that time. So I appreciate that. So we're going to get right into it. I wanted to just get a little bit of the background of these women because, you know, I'm always fascinated by why people do what they do, and you both are really talented artists, which is very fascinating to me. So Rachel, you were like, what's your role at Somerville Open Art Studios? You're kind of the head organizer.
I'm the coordinator for 2013 Somerville Open Studios.
Okay, now does that happen every year? Is it the same coordinator, or do you switch off?
Usually it's a new coordinator every year. Sometimes somebody will do it for 2 years, but generally it's a switch up.
Okay, so it kind of it wears everybody out, and then, you know, just kidding.
No, it's a lot of fun, and it's tremendous fun. You make a lot of connections, and then you go on to what you're doing next.
And you move on.
Yeah.
You stay busy.
Yeah.
Now, I find this fascinating. She had a background in architecture and theater. Mm-hmm. You studied architecture as an undergraduate.
I did.
Good choice. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so theater set design and painting, you went to graduate school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you continued to work because you traveled around quite a bit, and you did scenery. Mm-hmm. She had breathtaking photos. I was looking when I was researching these ladies. So you do occasional murals here and there. Mm-hmm. Are you devastated that they took out that one at Rite Aid at the end of the bike path? I am. That's my little soapbox.
Well, maybe they'll open it up for a new piece.
I know. See, yeah. And here we go. Here's a potential here. So tell me a little bit about. Right now, you're concentrating on studio work and teaching, which is wonderful. I love teaching. And in your techniques are, and techniques to explore the contemporary world. And you state that nothing I make can be grasped in a single glance. Now, I highlighted that because I thought, I wanted to explain that because I think, you have a really interesting technique, and maybe you could tell me a little bit about what you mean by that. Like, what is your kind of, your elevator pitch?
Yeah, it's tricky. The paintings that I do mostly are landscape paintings, representational paintings, so pretty straightforward.
Maybe we cue the, if you go to PC8 there, if you just press that, we're going to take a look at...
I'm going to jump ahead and then we'll come back. So this one is one of the representational pieces of the landscape painting that I do. This is my main body of work. It's a city scene. It's a street on Lexington Avenue where I live, and the houses and the street poles, all of that stuff. And then painted on it is another landscape of another location. And that comes from this realization of how hard it is to really be in one place at one moment, right? You're walking down the street, but you're thinking about this other place, maybe where you were or where you're going. And we have these connections through memory or dream or hope, looking forward or looking back. And so when I paint things, there's these layers to them. And this painting that's on the screen right now shows a Somerville scene and also New Zealand, which was someplace I had been.
Oh, fascinating. Now, is this on, what medium is it on?
This is an oil painting on a piece of cut wood. So the wood is cut to that silhouette, and then you see the shadows in the background there. You could stick your hand through that and move those little wires.
Fascinating. Okay. Why don't we go on to another one? Now, this is...
So this is another one in that same body.
In your same series, which is the, I apologize.
Cities and Shadows.
The Cities and Shadows,
Cities and Shadows. So this is another Somerville street scene up in Davis Square, and then people walking down the street. But then there's also the clouds, and there's also this sense of space and atmosphere while also looking at a straight-up city scene.
Okay.
And then this one again, same thing where it's these cut silhouettes, cut wood with the cast shadows on the wall behind it.
Yeah.
And then the people, and then the shadows of the people. But then that landscape is the pond at Spy Pond in Arlington. So again, this sort of connection to the urban and also nature at the same time.
Now, how did you come upon this technique? I guess that's the interesting thing. I think, you know, I'm looking at this, and we're going to switch back to we're going back and forth between the technology. But you know, those types of scenes are really, they're fascinating, but they're very, you know, there's complexity to them.
Yeah, there is.
How did you come upon that? Did you?
You know, it was a problem-solving situation. I had a piece in the Windows Art Project in Davis Square 10 years ago now, I think, under Cecily Miller was running the Arts Council then, and it was in the old Sunday Cafe. So I was going to put a piece in the window of the Sunday Cafe, and I didn't want to block the window. And so I wanted you to be able to see through it, but see the painting at the same time. So I started doing this cut thing.
Oh, fascinating.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, and then so it was problem solving, but then what happened was as the cars went by and the light reflected off them, it cast these shadows that moved along the walls of the cafe. Which I loved, and it was really cool.
You just sit there in the cafe, sip a cappuccino, and just kind of watch the shadows cast.
So then I started getting really interested in how you see one landscape, and then through it you see something else. So you're looking at the painted landscape, but through it you saw the people in the cafe. And then I started layering images on top of each other, and
I love
just
it.
doing that.
That is fascinating. Now, here's a question: are you You're so busy organizing. Are you? Because I know you're at Mad Oyster Studios on Pearl Street, which is closer to the east end of Somerville.
Yes.
So, are you opening your studio? I don't believe you are.
I'm not opening this year, just
okay.
because I did want to take a step back. It's a good time to take a break from showing my current body of work and sort of reinvent where I'm going next. And I really wanted to be able to go out and see open studios because it's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited to go walk around and see it.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah. No, well, it's wonderful. And so you've got a few exhibitions, few recent one. One more readily, it's your Boston solo show at the Heinz Convention Center.
Yes.
And the installation is set for mid-April.
Yes. It got a little delayed, but it's coming up soon now.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. And so now you're also doing some teaching.
I took a little break from that. I have taught occasionally back and forth at Boston Architectural College, and I'll probably go back and do that more. And then I teach drawing and painting out of my studio, and I do small group classes, 2 to 5 people, and we draw in the studio, or we go outside and we draw in parks. So I've taken classes of drawing students to the MFA, and we draw there.
And now you're also a guest instructor at the Wyoming Girls School.
I did that once. That was.
You know what? I think it's wonderful, and it's just worth repeating. Sorry, I did some digging on you.
Yeah.
So on Sheridan, Wyoming, for court-ordered delinquent girls, visual journaling, September 2011.
That was amazing. I was on an artist residency at UCross in Wyoming, and while I was there, I got a chance to connect to community that way. And so I went in with these girls, and they were so smart,
so impactful.
So yes, it was really neat to do.
And now, how long have you been in Somerville? 20 years. Almost. Wow. That's fantastic. I'm on 15. So
yeah, there you go.
Okay, well, no, but that's okay. And you live in West Somerville.
I do. So I live in West Somerville. My studio's in East Somerville. I barely ever get past the little dotted line.
She's all about Somerville.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Emily. Emily, this is your 4th year participating.
Yes. And my 4th year in Somerville.
4th year in Somerville. Now, where are you living now?
I live near the Powder House traffic circle area.
Okay. Okay. So you're a native of New York City. And now I bring that up is because you said that this is a very important part of your art. No, because I like New York City. I'm not I'm not Boston. So Boston's wrong, but it's one of the biggest influences on your work subconsciously. You said because growing up in a place with that kind of energy and order.
So I draw maps of places that I invent as I draw. That's sort of what I do.
Oh.
Is what I.
Yeah, we'll switch. Now, one quick thing I wanted. So you got a BA in visual arts from Brown in 2009. Now, the one thing I'm going to say, we're going to keep it on here, which is fine, but I found this fascinating, so I want to bring this up.
Absolutely.
You pursued studies in brain's responses to art and aesthetic beauty through cognitive science department.
Yeah, I did some independent studies trying to figure out how the brain responds to visual stimulation, particularly pertaining to art and aesthetic objects and things that we find beautiful. So trying to answer that question of how do we actually perceive beauty.
Wow, I love it. and beauty it is if you look at this map here. And why don't you give me a little bit behind this, because like I said, your influence of New York City and living in this type of environment. What are we looking at here? What is this?
This particular piece was a watercolor piece that I created in stages, actually. And I started with the blue river type structure that goes through the middle of it, that cuts through the middle of it, and then did progressive layers of watercolor around that, as if it's sort of a city that is growing out. And so the first parts are going to be darker, and then the parts that I added last are a little bit lighter.
Okay, so this is an example of what you call imaginary cartography, correct? You kind of, what did you say? I invent each place as I draw it. So this isn't kind of an invention, but yet it looks like a map.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
I'm inspired by other cities, particularly since I spent so much time in New York.
Okay.
I'm inspired by where I grew up.
And speaking of being inspired, what are we looking at here?
This is actually a map that I drew for Somerville Open Studios a few years ago for the inside cover of the map book, which is a interpretation of the map of Somerville.
So it actually is the map of Somerville.
It is. I looked at a map and drew it, so it's through my lens, through my style. But
okay,
no, I would
you know
use
what?
it to get around.
This is going to sound really creepy, but I have to just share this. I have this picture. I've actually spoken to you before, and I didn't even realize. Well, no, because I have it. I bought this, and it's I know exactly where I'm going to put it, but I have to renovate my front entryway, and I'm going to have all these pictures of like Somerville, and I bought it from you, and it's so funny because here I am getting the greater, and she's like, oh, I've got this perfect woman. You would Rachel have recommended you, and all of a sudden I started looking through her stuff. I'm like, I have this picture, and I'm not lying, folks. So I gravitate towards really talented people. What can I say? So you okay? So this is Somerville. So now maybe we go to the next one here. And I was going to bring it and have you sign it, but I couldn't find it. I mean, I know I put it somewhere safe until I actually can put it up.
We can always do it later.
Oh, we'll do it later. Fantastic. So now what are we looking at here?
So this is another imaginary map. This one I started with the 5 central points and drew out from them in sort of a slightly randomized but still orderly fashion, the way that some civilizations self-organize into neighborhoods that have close-knit areas and then areas where there's a little bit more
It's kind of got
space.
a little bit of a modern twist to it, but I love that. Okay. And then what do we have? The next one? Now tell me a little bit about this one. This is imaginary or real?
Most of them are imaginary, I believe.
Really?
I've only tackled 3 real places so far. Yeah, this one is also imaginary with a more... the benefit of doing this is that I can invent any sort of shape of city that I want. I mean, this is not going to be necessarily likely, but I'm merging the aesthetic approach with the mapping approach.
Okay. And now you also do the I'm just going to mention a couple other things. You do these imaginary cartography, which is wonderful. You do pop-up cities, which I don't know if they're origami inspired, but each pop-up city is a strip of paper cut and folded into intersections of 2 different city scenes. So it's kind of a similar line.
They're large pop-ups, basically.
They're large pop-ups, kind of like those cards that you get.
Yeah, like a large
scale.
couple pages from a pop-up book.
And you did a teapot. You did a teapot that was very cool. I didn't have the picture of the teapot, folks. Sorry, but and then it had your imaginary cities kind of on it.
And all the streets interconnect, even on the bottom.
Very cool. And you also do some jewelry, although that's not your primary focus. I'm a jewelry lover, so I have to bring up the jewelry part.
I do enough jewelry, yeah, but I've been spending most of my time on the imaginary photography.
And you've also got some exhibitions here that are, you've got Migrations Inside Out Gallery in Somerville,
Somerville, which is my solo show at Block 11.
At Block 11, fantastic. And you've got some artwork at Cloud Gallery, Cambridge Artist Co-op. Although we don't want you being in Cambridge, you need to stay in Somerville. I'm just kidding. But we only have 13 Forest. I know, I had to say that. And Blue Cloud. Blue Cloud's great. Okay, and then now you are over at the Artisan Asylum, which you had to wait a half of a year. You were on the waiting list. Like, that's a popular place.
I actually forgot about signing up for a space by the time that they contacted me about having one.
Wow.
But I'm so glad that I'm there.
How is that? Do you like it over there?
It's wonderful.
How many artists are over there?
Well, there are over 130 spaces. I just do the map of the space for some of the local studios.
Oh, look at you! 130. Look at that.
Oh, there's more. Okay,
so you've been a member of the Somerville community since 2009, and you live in the Powder House neighborhood. such a beautiful neighborhood. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, very fascinating stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about Somerville Open Art Studios in the remaining time that we have. A little bit of a background here. We're going to just cue up the graphics, folks. This is the logo for this year. Now you change this do you change this every year? Is it a contest?
Not every year, every once in a while. This
Okay.
logo was designed by James Weinberg, who also
Okay.
did the art that's on the poster and the map book. He's a fabulous Somerville artist,
Okay.
and he did this as a volunteer.
Fantastic.
It's worth pointing out, all of SOS is volunteer-driven, and this was just, I contacted him and said, hey, could you do graphics? And he got all excited and did a whole new...
I know, I'm really excited to get the swag.
Yeah.
There's going to be some cute t-shirts or something, I'm sure. Hopefully.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe not. Who knows? Okay, so we're celebrating the 15th year, and so we're going to go to the next slide just to kind of give everyone. We're going to show this again. So basically, for those of you at home who don't know what this is an event that is citywide, and you see all those little dots that you may not be able to understand what they are on the screen. But I tell you what, if you go anywhere outside of Somerville, you'll see this big electric green hand cut out of like plywood, and there are these little things inside. Grab one of those things and you'll find this. And it basically goes neighborhood by neighborhood. Every single artist, they're going to have these big orange balloons that are marking their area. And I tell you, you can, you jump on the trolley and go around the city. We'll talk about that more later. And you can explore all the different nooks and crannies of Somerville and all the art that there is. And this is just like a small showing of it, but there's really a lot on this map that you really should check that out.
And the map is live on the website. And so on the website, you can see this graphic version of the map. You can also use an interactive map. And if you do it on your mobile, if you go to somervilleopenstudios.org/mobile, it can look where your location is and show you where the artists are closest to you.
Okay. So, as we said before, it's the largest open art studio event in the United States over a single weekend, correct? Which is fantastic. So, we're going to go through just to show a couple, some of the things that you can see. There's a wide range of art that you can see during this time. Now, okay, so right now, this is the concrete table #1 by Seth, and I apologize in advance if I don't spell the name right or say the right, is Avicilla, Avecilla. And this is his work.
Asylum, actually.
He's at the asylum. Well, there you go. This is unique. So it's not just, it's art of all forms. And we go to the next one here. Things like this. You know, this is a traditional, I believe, oil painting. This is T-Stop.
This is a watercolor.
It's watercolor. Oh,
it's
T-Stop.
Incredible watercolor.
By Seth Berkowitz. So this is something that you can see. I don't know exactly where he's located. And then, then you can have things such as, jewelry, which, hey, I'm a huge fan of. And this is a piece of work by the Plastic Series Ring by Laura Jacklich Jewelry. And so, if you're into that sort of a thing. What else do we have here? Oh, see, now these are two separate things. We put on that because the resolution wasn't quite what we wanted it, but that's okay. And I love dogs, so I picked this picture. And this is The Mothership Returns for Tootsie by Nancy Anderson. I just love that picture because she's looking up at a spaceship or something like that. I don't know. And then, then again, fashion, which is a whole other form of art. This is the ruffle bustle skirt and lace ruffle bodice by Julie Cahill.
And it's worth pointing out that Somerville Open Studios has our second ever fashion show, which is tomorrow. It's also free, and it's at Arts at the Armory. So that's part of our lead-up events.
Yeah, no.
And Julie, whose piece this is coordinating the fashion show.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're gonna, we've got the lead-up. No, we're going through these, but absolutely.
Just because her piece is there.
No, it's perfect. Okay, if we go to the next slide, what do we have here? Now, I love this one on the left, because this is just Somerville, isn't it?
Yes.
Sorry to say that. This is November in Somerville 2 by Rowan McVeigh. And we got the lady in that, Mary, the little statue, that's beautiful. And then on the right, we're looking at Luminous Gardens in Ariel by Beth Galston, which is really beautiful. And these types of things, like I said, if you go anywhere in this city, you'll find a variety of artwork in all different forms, and it's really fascinating to kind of wander. You kind of get to go inside people's houses, which is kind of, And actually, there's one more picture. We have that one picture. Why don't we it just kind of gives you an idea, you know, people walking through space. Now this is Rachel's.
That's my studio from last year.
That's her studio, and these people are, look at that, they're wandering around, enjoying the sunshine, and you can purchase art, or you can just look at art. I mean, it's just really fascinating. There's all sorts of kind of prizes and contests or things like that. There was like a drawing that you get free art. Are you doing that again?
Oh, at Vernon Street they do that. Vernon Street, it's a raffle where you buy into the raffle, you get a ticket, and that can be.
And you can potentially. So I hope they do that again, because that's really an interesting thing. Okay, so those are our images. As Rachel was saying, there are actually a lot of events leading up to. So we've got Saturday and Sunday are the big events when everybody jumps on the trolley and goes around. The fashion show event is on May 1st from 7 to 9:30. And that's you said at the Armory, correct?
At the Armory, yes.
Okay.
And that's free. Everything's free.
Everything is free, which is wonderful. You should definitely take advantage of that. Somerville Open Cinema Festival by SCAT is on the 2nd. H2. So that's just kind of like all these artsy things leading up to that. The SOS Volunteer Show is at Block 11 through the 20th of May. So if you miss this weekend, you're out of town, you have plenty of art to see there. And then the Artist Choice exhibit, Somerville Museum, through the 10th. And I guess all the Somerville Art Studio or Open Art Studio people were asked to submit. I don't know whether it was a requirement or not, but
it's optional.
So it's a little bit of a potpourri of sorts of art.
A really good overview, and you can go with your map, and everybody's map number is noted under their piece. So if you decide, oh, I really like that, I want to go see it, you can circle it on your map and go see them.
Oh, nice. So it's like a little bit of a menu that kind of allows you to go through.
A tasting menu.
And you know, this is actually interesting. The Kids Art Show, which is through the 10th at the Arts of the Armory Cafe. I think that's got to be great.
It's kind of hilarious.
Do they do macaroni? Any macaroni art?
No, it's mostly...
I'm a huge fan of macaroni art.
No, there's no macaroni art this year. I guess there's an opening there. Maybe you can submit next year.
Well, is there an age limit? I am definitely in the kids bracket. Is there an age limit? Thank you. Thank you so much. You're going to come back as a guest anytime you want. Okay, let's talk logistics. Let's talk parking. Because we all know that this can be very crazy parking. So I understand, rumor has it that the city parking restrictions will be lifted for the day.
Not that that makes parking easy, but it does help.
That was put on your website, so I hope that's true. Is that true? I don't want everybody at the city to get mad at me. Okay.
And so what we did is the city offered us their 4 big major lots, the one at the Kennedy School, the one in West Somerville, and I forget the other 2, they're on the website. And you can park there for free, just like it was a snow emergency, and then you can ride the trolley around. So you can park in the city lots, and then you can jump in the trolley. If you're coming in from out of town, just park and
we're just going to put a little picture. Go to the next one. We got a picture of the trolley.
There we go.
I just love this trolley. So
we get these trolleys from Old Town Trolley. They loop around the city. They stop at all the major nodes.
And it's just like they come every 20 minutes, right? So it's like you get 3 times an hour. You get this little trolley that comes along and just drops you off where the balloons are.
Yeah.
And so I've had so many fascinating conversations with people on this trolley because it's just this random, like I said, potpourri of people that are on this thing. So yeah, it definitely makes it so accessible for people that live here as well as others. And I understand that now there's also information kiosks at Davis and Union Square. Is that correct?
Yep. There'll be just a little info tent if you...
There'll be a person sitting there?
Yeah. If you want to pick up a map and you can ask them a question. You can volunteer for next year.
Because you're always, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Getting involved for next year. How does one get involved?
If you go to the website, there's a tab that says Get Involved. And you tap that tab.
Well, that's easy.
And then you sign up on the mailing list, or you can click on the list of volunteer tasks, what things you might like to do.
Okay, you start planning this well in advance, right? I mean, this has got to be on the books.
That's the plan.
You're already planning for next year.
We try.
Well, no, but you're really organized. I mean, I think this event, like, kudos to you and all of the people that are involved, because you get this book. Okay, and it has got, like, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming, and that's my next question. How do you get this? There's so much in here. Like, if I were to say, and again, all the studios are great, okay, but if I'm someone coming from out of town that's like, oh my gosh, this is thicker than, this is thicker than a magazine. What do you tell them? Like, if you were to say, okay, well, maybe you start your first year, you go to a few places, there are some studios that are a little bit more concentrated on others, and like I said, I still want other people to visit the smaller studios, but some of them, there is a concentration in certain areas.
If you're in Somerville, what you should do is start with your neighbors. Because you don't even know that you're living next door to artists.
Oh, that's kind of a cool idea.
And so you start with your neighbors. You start with a book, and you go to the houses near you, and you meet them, and then you can always ask them, who do you recommend? Because we all know each other, or somebody has a favorite, and you can walk because you can, or jump on the trolley, or whatever it is, however you get around. If you're coming in from out of town, I'd say start at the Somerville Museum, because you can pick your favorite there.
That's actually a really good idea. Go to the museum first.
And the Red Bones truck is going to be there this year. So
oh
you can
my God.
Go to the museum, get yourself some barbecue, look at the art, and decide where to go from there.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. You can, I mean, don't get overwhelmed by this. This is really easy to navigate because these ladies have done a fabulous job with all the graphics and making it just very easy to figure out where you're going. And so what are some of the reasons why you think that the Somerville, this event has taken off, or has, you know, like there's such a high concentration of artists in this area, which I think is wonderful, and was one of the reasons why I moved here so long ago.
Me too.
But what do you think, you know, what do you think it is? Like, do you have any what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that you answered your first question with your second part. Like, why is it taken off so big? No, it's good. Why is Somerville Open Studios so big? Is because we have so many artists here. So we have people in every kind of medium. Why is it so organized? Because we have so many people involved that we can have a web team of 3 or 4 people. We can have a mapbook distribution of 3 or 4 people. Yeah. We have so much talent. Our website is built by volunteers, but we happen to have so many people here that we have really good volunteers who can do that. So it helps that we have this really great community, because then we're able to do so much. So I think that's a big part of it. Yeah. And then we had lots of industry in Somerville that left in the 60s and 70s, and the artists said, well, I like Somerville, so we came into the open industrial buildings. So our industrial past really leads us to the artistic present and future.
Wow, I love how that wrapped up. That's beautiful, so poetic. So all of these, the websites are going to be on the Greater Somerville blog, so you can definitely check that out. You'll know where to find things there. Why do you ladies think that this is important for artists to participate in this event? Like, what is it that draws you in, that makes you participate year after year?
I think it's really amazing to not, spend all of your time in your studio making your own art, to create your connections and create your community and find the people that you're going to be working off of. And that's why I would get involved in it as a volunteer, even more than as a participant. But
it helps you kind of grow that sense of community, because that's pretty strong, I think, in Somerville.
I also really love the feedback. At a certain point in an artist's career, it gets very hard to get honest feedback. Right? You have a gallerist who says, oh yeah, this is great. Or you have people who love your work, and that's it. But people walk into your space, they say whatever thing enters their mind. and it's kind of
I hope I'm not one of those people. Now you know me. I'm going to come in like a hat or something.
No, it's great because the kind of connections, and I love it when people say, oh, your work makes me think of this other person. And then I go look that person up, and either it's somebody famous, or I've made some friends in Somerville. somebody said, oh, wow, you would really like Emily's work. And I looked at, oh, you're right, I do.
And there you are.
And so people who are going around to other studios, they tell me, oh, you should see this other person. Oh. Or sometimes they just, I've gotten recommendations on how to do things, whatever. But it's really neat, and I think the chance to talk directly to the artist about the work that you like, or talk directly to the person who likes your work,
beneficial for both.
It's invaluable, and you can't really get that any other way.
Huh.
So.
Well, that's wonderful. You know what? I'd like to thank our guests, Rachel Mello and Emily Garfield, for coming into Greater Somerville and talking with us tonight about the Somerville Open Art Studios, which is going to be held this Saturday and Sunday, May 4th and 5th. I'd encourage all viewers at home, residents or not, to take part in this event and find out exactly why Somerville Open Art Studios is such a highlight of our community. I'd like to personally thank these ladies, along with everyone involved in this event, for volunteering their time to make this all happen. It is because of dedicated people like this that Somerville continues to thrive creatively and move forward, solidifying why our city is consistently noted as one of the best places to live in this country. And my question is, why on earth would you want to live anywhere else? So that does it for us tonight, folks. Thank you to the viewers at home for watching. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed. Good night, everyone.